World Championship. And many injuries.
And many injuries, but that's always a great emotion to see again those images, and I'm always thinking who's gonna win at the end, and I'm always keen that it's me. You know, my heart is beating right now for that video, but I know I win at the end, but it's still a surprise.
You still make nightmares.
What was that?
You still make nightmares.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who's gonna be the winner?
But you have two, huh? You have two. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I have 2 gold medals, one in Sochi in 2014, and this one in Pyeongchang in 2018. So that was a few months ago. And yeah, like you said, many injuries as well. It hasn't been always a pleasant journey, I would say. In 2014, I torn my ACL 2 months before the competition. So as you may know, if you torn your ACL, it's about 6 to 9 months.
LCL is ligament croisé.
Yeah, in the knee. It's about 6 to 9 months of recovery with a surgery. So that would be way over the Olympics at this time. So the bet with my surgeon was that we said no surgery, we make functional treatment, traitement fonctionnel, as we call it. It's just building up the muscle around the knee and going this way with a brace to the Olympic Games. That was the bet. That was the biggest bet of my career. And
what was the risk?
The risk was the over-injury. Because if I would crash again or just twist my knee, that would be just terrible consequences for my career, but as well my life after all. So yeah, the risk was very high, and the bet was even higher to go to Sochi and win the medal there. So I was at the start in Sochi, and I was thinking, well, the victory is here already. I am here. I am standing at the start. Something that I was definitely not expecting 2 months ago with a torn ACL, like this in the sofa, making a deep hole in the sofa. And I was at the start. Sorry, yeah, I was just checking if it was Sochi, but it was Pyeongchang. I was at the start, and I thought, okay, this the victory is actually done. So let's just go now for fun. Actually, that was just fun there, and it was easy because there I had the simplicity in the mind to think, okay, physically I'm down, but mentally I'm strong, and I was very strong there because I was fresh. I did not expect to be there, so I was just fresh in my mind, and it helped me a lot. That case here was a total different case. I'm just going to take water a little bit because I'm a little bit. Yeah, sorry about that.
I wonder how can someone be fresh after not training for a few weeks and be that confident.
Yeah, that looks peculiar, but actually it was like this, and it was very simple because from the moment I torn my ACL in 2014, I set my mind in the goal to go to the Olympics, but it was just setting goals one after the other. And the first goal was to get back on the feet. That's quite easy. It's physio, it's recovery, it's all this. The second goal was to be strong on the feet. That's a total other goal, but but nevertheless, it's quite easy. It's mathematics, it's gym, it's physio, it is electrostimulation. It is normal, easy stuff that an athlete go through all his career long. The third goal was to get back on the snow, on the board. That was scary, really scary, because I had no muscle anymore, or at least I was weak and down from my injured leg, and I was scared, but I took it mentally, psychologically. I took it as a mechanical issue. Like you would bring the car to the garage and say, "Well, this suspension is broken. Please replace it." And that's exactly in this case, in this mindset that I went first on snow. I said, "Okay, my body is working, a bit weak. Just have to be careful, but it's working." So my brain and my body, they don't work together anymore. They shouldn't work together anymore because my brain gonna think about injury, gonna think about pain, gonna think about all those difficult moments I went through, and that wouldn't be helpful at all. What I had have to rely on was the liability of my body to work and to work correctly in those in those moments. And the last goal was to go to the Olympics. 10 days before the Olympics, I didn't even know if I'm going to fly to Sochi or not, if I'm going to stay home. So the mindset was quite hard. But once I was there, like I said, that was the victory. I wasn't especially able to ride the first day. Second day was better. Third day was even better. Last day, I won. So it was quite a tight timing, very, very important to be well surrounded in this time with medical staff, with coaching staff, with physical coach, with, I mean, everyone has a very important asset in this, in this moment.
How did your injury affect your technique? Right, and are there any learnings that you say, you know what, now I know I can do that specific technique in a different way?
I'd say luckily in 2014 the snow was soft. It's a shame we don't have the images, but in Sochi it was very cloudy, very raining even, and the snow was really soft, so I didn't need all the power I used to have in my legs to be good there. It would be bulletproof ice. I would probably not win there, but it was a stroke of luck that I could have these kind of conditions. I had have to adapt, of course, my technique, and if I may make the parallel on another injury, my ankle that I heavily broke in 2012. That's another injury, and that's the worst from far. I definitely had have to adapt my technique. I can't bend anymore enough my ankle, so I don't have the same front side turn anymore, like when we are on the toe, and I'm the right foot front, so I'm going there on the toes. I don't have the flexibility anymore in my ankle, so I have to adapt my technique. This is a terrible thing for an athlete, being at the top, getting injured, and not getting back to the same level as before, having to find strategies to perform at least the same well. It's makeable, but it's terribly difficult. And that's as well why I'm here today, to learn from all of you guys, from the speeches, from the sharing, how maybe surgery can do better. And that's my concern now for the next years. For me, my body is completely broken. How can I find solution to be still performant? I adapted myself, but at once the youngsters gonna come up and I won't be fast enough because my body is too old.
How important is the equipment that you use in your sport? And do you use equipment that everyone can go buy from the store, or is it specifically designed for you? If you can walk us through that sort of equipment developer-athlete relationship.
Yeah, definitely. The equipment, the material is really important in our sport. We are not Formula One, but we are developing very fine and specific things to be fast on the snow. If I give my board to a leisure snowboarder who goes 1 week in a year on snow, it's going to be a disaster. He's going to go straight, not being able to turn and take the first three forward. So that's not a pleasure. It's very specific, but it's something that I developed for me. Pretty much all the riders from the World Cup, the international riders, they have the same. It's something that I have developed in 2007. Let's say that before, I mean, snowboard cross, let's start from the beginning. Snowboard cross is a young sport. There is everything to do. Innovation is everything. And those who make the innovation are the athletes, because no one else can do it for them. We can watch around the other sports, that's where we inspire ourselves, but at the end of the day, we are alone in our course, and the innovation we put in is the direct way to the performance. So my boards in 2008, I was the first one to ride this kind of boards. It was boards which were not selling on the public market. It was really specific things, and it brought me an advantage that this season I won the World Cup. I was the only one on this kind of board, and I won the World Cup. The year after, all the guys were equipped with the same boards, same kind of boards.
You were a trendsetter.
Well, yeah,
on the performance
I had
side.
influence as well, and
Yeah.
I had a mentor for this. It was my coach at that time, with whom we developed things and with whom we even changed the discipline. We did put a lot of science in our discipline, and that's, I think, where I started the most of my career, is to put physical pattern into my sport. As you see, we have lots of bumps, of jumps, things where we have to absorb, be the closest from the ground as possible, be the less in the air as possible, and this is physics. This is just physics. The line of the gravity center, it's physics. So it's on this that we worked with my coach. He's long resigned since then, but he showed me the way, and I continued after.
How was the learning process? How do you come to thinking about these differentiators that you have with your competitors?
The learning process was first some basic, some understanding about the physics, about the sport, and then it's just the result, the performance, which witness from the inputs. I don't know if it answered the question exactly.
Yeah. Performance, learning, experiential, a lot of experiences.
Experience, of course. Experience is again something great in our sport, but we see that, and that's where I'm going to talk again about surgery, or let's say about physical problems, body problems, that a lot of guys who have experience, they have a lot of problem in injuries. Some have stopped already because of injuries, some are less performant because of that, and it's the limit little bit of the experience, that the guys who has the most experience are those who are the most broken. So they can't give anymore the best result, the best performance, because they are not physically able to. So they have to transmit it, but we're individual sport, and it's hard to transmit.
So a swimmer gets in the pool, swims. A football player takes a ball, football pitch, trains. How do you train? How do you, what do you do when you're not on the mountains? And if you go to a mountain, what do you do there?
It's a lot of gym, a lot of cardio as well. Due to my ankle injury, I can't run anymore, so cardio is all about cycling for me. I hate swimming. I swim like this so I prefer not to swim. Now it's a lot of bicycle for the cardio. On snow, it's a lot of technical training as well, but moreover, now in my position, I'm 31 years old, I'm closer to the end than the beginning, and it's a lot of strategy. It's learning to ride with the others, against the others, and build up strategy. In this way, I have been as well innovative in my sport. I started to, in 2010, I started to use the draft behind the guys. And this brought me substantial advantage.
What is it?
The draft is like in cycling, when you get the shelter
like
behind,
drafting in cycling.
you draft behind
You take the air.
this one who's front, and you go faster. For the cyclists, they use less energy. For us, we just go faster.
But then it's a sport that you don't want to fall.
Yeah, but what do you mean you don't want to fall?
If you draft, that means you're behind.
Yep, exactly.
And what happened that was in Sochi, right, on the semis?
In Pyeongchang.
In Pyeongchang, on the semis.
Mm-hmm.
All except the two leaders, including you fell down, and all of them fell down, but the two leaders. So what is the risk of drafting if you have to be ahead not to fall because of someone else?
Of course, that's the risk we take by drafting. The point when we draft is actually to build up a strategy with this drafting that's gonna bring us ahead in a defined point. It means I have been winning some races where I let the guys go, and about half to 1 second after, I pull out of the gate and I start chasing them. That's a quite interesting feeling actually, because it's like we are in a sport, explosive sport, where we have to get out of the gate as fast as possible, and we already lose 1 second by the start. But actually,
like Formula One.
It's just to build up the speed, and it's always better to chase someone than to be chased. It's the hunter-prey game, and if you pull out later, you have a massive draft in front of you. Like, you just have no wind resistance anymore, and you can just pass the guys, even a little bit speed down, a little bit check down the speed to see exactly where you want to pass, and then it's exactly like you would have a throttle, and make a little bit of gas, and you can overtake.
How much do you study your opponents?
A lot, actually, exactly about this drafting. A guy fit like me does not have the same draft as a small guy who is as wide as small. So it's this is something that I have to study a lot, actually. We have as well a lot of guys that are tricky in the course. Mostly some Italians. I don't know if some Italians are in the room. I don't want to make any conflict, but Italians are
I don't
tricky.
think they will say it if they are.
Sorry for the Italians, but I just stepped into both feet. But they are very tricky, actually.
It's like football.
It's just something to consider. It's just something to know that when we're gonna be in the turn or going over a jump, the Italian gonna go to the gate, and if he can kick you out of the field, he will do it. Well, that's like this. I mean, we know it, so we just play with it. But no, it's just general to say that, of course, I study my opponents a lot, and it's as well one of my main field of action. Yeah.
What does your support team look like? I mean, what do you think an athlete who is competing for the next medal, right, along you, needs to have around them to win? What expertise should they surround themselves with?
Definitely that strategy point is one of the main points which can rule, I think, my sport very soon. I wouldn't be surprised even if soon, in few years, we see some starts where no one is pulling out of the start gate. Everyone is waiting for the other one. That would be my dream. That would be just crazy, because that means the strategy I did put in worked out at the best. I don't think it's gonna happen, because the sport is not quite going this way. We are going into a bit more compact courses. The course you saw on the video, it probably won't happen anymore. Guys were not really happy about it. It's way too expensive to build as well, and it doesn't go anymore in the policy of the IOC. As well, because we need parity, and for the women it starts to be a problem to have this kind of courses, and because they are a bit less fast, and so they can't clear the jump the same way. So it's gonna shrink a bit, but it's gonna make the sport more interesting, because we're gonna have something which is way more with rhythm, way more with tricks, with very short gaps between the guys. One more time, what we saw here, I take the lead like 5-6 meters at the beginning. This probably won't happen either, because it's going to be much more compact, and it makes the sport more interesting, I think. So I think the younger generation should be aware of this, and I had evolution with my sport. Now it's going to go another way. I probably won't be there anymore to practice it or to experience it, but. Yeah, that's the key for the younger generation.
Do you have a training partner, like someone who would simulate what the Italians would do, or what the?
Well, no, I train with some youngers. They are 18 years old. I'm 31, so it's quite a gap. But they are young and fast, and fresh as well. But no, it's we are working as a team. We are individual sport, but we are definitely working as a team in the training, and that's, I think, the key. That alone we go faster, and together we go further.
Nice.
No, but that's
Nice.
That just came out like this.
If you were to imagine the best course ever, can you say that?
Well,
No, not the product, but can you share what would be the ideal course for Yanis to make the best broadcasting ever? I mean, we've seen the difference between Sochi and Pyongyang. Amazing difference on the broadcasting and the quality of the course, aesthetically.
Yeah, sure. I have a project in mind that's gonna happen hopefully this year with Red Bull. I can't talk much about it, but it's gonna be about dream project. I've built up a little bit this frustration on the World Cup where it wasn't always technically enough for me, and I wanna have a course what correspond to my style, to my vision, and this I probably gonna build it up around Serge Chevalier around 2019, but yeah, I can't say much more about it.
More germs, more curves.
Much more rhythm, much less range of mistake, much more precision in general, and as well for fun, because let's not forget that what brought me to snowboarding is the fun as well.
All right, so that's quite interesting. Do you have any questions for Pierre? I'm sure there will be.
There's one in the back there, I spot.
Remy?
Do we...
Remy? Remy?
Remy?
Send it over.
His knee also.
Hi there, my name is Maxime. I'm working for Tifosi, and my question for you, Pierre, is just to know, you've hesitated in between like surgery and rehabilitation before Sochi. How did you approach the same question post-Olympics, where you had probably to prepare yourself for the next decade, and you had probably to decide whether or not you wanted to go through surgery or like keep going that way with only rehabs?
Yeah, it actually the point was even medical, because after the games we made a check with my surgeon, and he said that first it's hard to make surgery on a guy that just won a gold medal. I said, of course, if it's working this way, let's go for it, and we made just a like clinical check that say that my knee is actually in between both cases of rehabilitation is enough and surgery is needed. So of course what I chose is the rehabilitation. So I made about 1-2 months of intensive rehabilitation after that. And since then I have to say my knee is fine. So I didn't go through the surgery. I'm kind of borderline with the flexibility of my ACL, but so long it holds, I'd say let's knock on wood, and it goes like this. Probably by the next big crash it's going to fall off, but well, we'll see.
Any other question in the crowd? David.
Yep, I do hear you.
Thanks. Hi, I'm David. You said you're a guy of technology, and you're quite in advance in your sport because you've made a lot of research about how to improve your performances. Do you go to link with the first session? Do you go training with sensors, captors? Do you watch your training courses or part of the courses on a screen, on a computer screen with 5 IT guys behind you saying, well, you could do this, you could do this, you could improve that? You talked about gravity and all that. Do you transform the images in something with a lot of technology to improve, like, and win a few seconds or half seconds?
Yeah, about all the body performances, I'd say that I'm quite basic. I have a sensor for my heart rate, and that's about it for the training off the snow. On the snow, it's a total other story. We are timing every single training session we do, and every single training session has a goal, whether it's technical or technical, let's say technical on the board or technical on the material, like base test, material test. Every single training has a goal, and we are timing everything. We are then making this database. It's not easy to analyze sometimes, but yeah, there is a lot of data analysis on all this. We have a sport that is not very much linked to the physical performance. There is an obvious link, but we have seen some fat old guys winning a competition, because it's as well about gliding, about technique, and about feelings. That's what makes us, I think, the greatest of our sport as well. And when, for example, I received lately an email from a journalist, international journalist, who wanted to question me about doping, and that's why as well I was asking about doping. And he asked me, what do you think in snowboard cross would be the point of doping? And honestly, I couldn't even answer, because for me, doping in snowboard cross wouldn't bring a thing. We have a technical part that we can't get by doping. We have a gliding part that is dedicated to our servicemen, who are, if possible, the best in the world, but who have, of course, nothing to do with doping. And we have a small physical part, which mostly we have because we want to be safe toward the injuries, let's say, more. So the physical part, just to say that the physical part in our sport is not the biggest part to win. And that's actually very interesting in terms of innovation, because we have a field of action which is very wide.
One last question.
I'll just pass the microphone down. Let's give the guys up front some opportunities.
Lady. White shirt.
Bonjour, Bénédicte Rubin, my coach. Est-ce qu'on peut dire que vous avez gagné votre deuxième titre olympique parce que vous avez été blessé?
Mon premier, du coup, ouais.
Ouais.
In English or in French then?
As you wish.
Okay, so in English, should I repeat the question in English?
Yeah, the question was,
Could we say
being injured,
you win your gold medal because you were injured?
I'd say yes. It's a big yes to that question. Even if I'm not especially proud to say it, because it's sort of another way to the performance. But mentally, I was just different from any other time. I've done 4 Olympics, and I'm on the snowboard cross field since 2005. And I've been running behind those important races, those important titles. Torino, when I ended up second last, so that was quite a failure. Vancouver, when I was the leader in the discipline, I won all the World Cups before the games. I went to the games just to fetch my medal, not even to win it, not even to earn it, and I got 9th. I was definitely way too confident for the experience I had and for the environment of the games. So arriving in 2014, I was, let's say in 2013 before, because I got injured in 2013, December, I was even glad that I got injured, because I thought, okay, it's a difficult situation. I wanted to go to the games. It was my goals, but actually I'm glad not to face it even, because I'm injured, and in this time I did not know exactly if I'm going to go, if I'm not going to go. But I had this release somehow where I thought, oh, it doesn't matter. I don't go to the games, but at least I'm free somehow. And then came the decision with my surgeon. And somehow I found this challenge very interesting, because it's like a total other game. I had cards in the hands, and before the injury, the cards were facing the games, facing the stress, facing my past with my past experience with the games, which were all bad. And now I wiped out those cards, and I took other cards, and I thought, okay, now the goal is I am down, I am lower than ever, and I want to be good enough to go to the games. And that was a very interesting bet, a very interesting challenge, which mentally doesn't mean at all anything anymore the same thing. So that's what I say. I came to the games somehow. I had no pressure. I had proved myself and to the others that I was here. It was already the victory. The guys were like, wow, how did he do that? I won my bet, basically. And winning the medal was definitely a consequence of all this before.
Well, congratulations a lot.